Dick Johnson, of course, as we follow this dice, Dick Johnson, of course, crashed on lap 17, and Allan Moffat only covered 3 laps, and the Army Falcon of Bobby Muir only 2 laps, so only 1 car, number 7, still going well as far as that's concerned, Chris. But Bobby Morris is going exceptionally well. But look at the battle going on for the lead, and can the Chickadee Chicken really getting his feathers in the way of the Commodore of Alan Grice, number 6, and the big Chevy Camaro, which is chasing them.
Of course, the drivers today are chasing lap money, and quite a lot of lap money. Coca-Cola bottlers have put up $4,000, $50 per lap for the outright leader on each of the first 80 laps. Ingersoll Rand Australia put up $4,000 for laps 81 to 160, and the Australian Racing Drivers Club $1,000 in lap money. Unipart, of course, have the Rookie of the Year award, which is worth $2,000, open to all drivers who have not previously raced in the Hardie-Ferodo, and will be awarded to the driver finishing highest in the outright placings. We go back to the racetrack, and we will follow Bob Morris at work in the car, currently placed 4th in the pack in the Breville Everlast Channel 7 XD Falcon.
We were just looking as we follow Bobby. We were looking at Peter Brock a while ago, as I thought, unlapping himself, but the information from the pit counter is, in fact, he's in front of the race. That Morris, because he came in and did his pit stop much earlier, is now leading the race. This is the information confirmed from the pit counter, with Alan Grice in 2nd place, and John Harvey in 3rd, and the man we're travelling with now, who's been in the pits once, Bobby Morris, in 4th outright position.
Well, going beneath the trees, which is about the only area that gives us problems with the camera car. Don't forget those people who are still ringing switchboards around Australia to all our Channel 7 stations to assist Dick Johnson, the Queensland racing driver. The Dick Johnson Racing Team should be what you write your check out to for whatever amount of money that you would like to. But make sure you send it to ATN Channel 7, Epping, New South Wales 2121.
One of the finest drives I've seen from Dick Johnson in practice yesterday, and one of the most disgraceful exhibitions we've ever seen in the Australian racecourse that put him out of the race.
Yes, I think everyone feels very sadly for Dick Johnson. We might be able to get him back a little later on during today's telecast, but we'd love to certainly give you an update on that on the 7 News. Over to you, Chris Economaki.
Okay, I'm down here by the Ron Dixon Camaro. It's having its brake pads changed, but the story here is in the commercial. Racing regulations here at Bathurst say that a commercial line cannot have a verb in it. So, in order to comply with the rules, they had to cover up the verb. Have a Pepsi day is not allowed. A Pepsi day is allowed. One of the crazy regulations that motor racing has here in Australia.
I agree, Chris. And also one of the Mazda RX-7s that entered the race and has the numbers on the roof. Done out very, very nicely. Good signwriting job in the Australian flag. Also had on the car, proud to be Australian, under the flag. Cairns officials said, if you'd like to pay us $500, you can leave it on. If you don't, would you please take proud to be Australian off? Everyone at NASCAR would fall out of their seats laughing about that. Okay, Bobby Morris, number 7. We've heard from Chris Economaki in the pits, who has been kept very, very busy today, that the chances are that Allan Moffat, who has already started and parked the number 1 Federation Insurance Unipart Falcon, may in fact take over the driving chores for the customary part of the race, around about mid-race, from Bobby Morris rather than Bill O'Brien. We have our 2 camera cars coming up at the moment over the top of the mountain. Number 7, Bobby Morris and Peter Williamson.
Status report on the 3 Camaros that are in the race. Car 2, that's the Dixon Stevens AFCO Finance Pepsi Camaro, has completed 50 laps. Is a lap down on the leaders. Is in 6th position. So they're pretty well in contention still in that car. The other 2 suffering a little at this stage. Number 12 is the second of the AFCO Pepsi Camaros with Dick Barber and Sam Posey, the drivers there. They've completed 48 laps. They're 4 laps down on the lead, and the same situation applies to the 9 Network Camaro of Bartlett and Forbes. They've completed 48 laps, 4 laps down.
And you can see
Sorry, Evan.
Well, we're talking about the same thing, Mike, I'm sure, and we're both as excited. There's an investigation going on the top of the mountain above the point where Dick Johnson was outed when a boulder found its way onto the track. And I've never been more happy to see police on the site in any instance as one sees there, where they're questioning spectators, and I'm sure there are plenty of willing spectators around to pass on some information, because they'd all be as disgusted as we are that someone, no matter in what sort of state that person was, could throw a rock onto the track. Anyhow, back to the pitch and Chris Economaki.
Well, a year ago, Dick Barber, you were dressed up to go racing and turned out to be a spectator. Now you've come back from America and you've had one stint at the wheel. First, what do you think of the circuit and competition? And secondly, what shape is it in?
Well, Chris, the circuit is fantastic. There's no other one like it in the world. It's kind of like Laguna Seca with its corkscrew in the United States. It's like Le Mans with a permanent facility. It's like Sebring with the atmosphere, the people having a great time. And secondly, the course is in great shape, except for the fact that there are many pieces of cars laying all over the track, including cars. You come around a blind corner, like up the cutting, and there was a car right on its lid right in front of me. And fortunately, excellent flagging warned me at a split second, so I was able to get around. I went another 300 or 400 yards, and then there was Dickie Johnson in the middle of the road. So quite a lot of drama, but it seems that the course workers are doing an excellent job, and the drivers are obeying the no passing sign.
People in Australia, Dick, are car conscious, and I guess they'd like to know your comments about the Camaros, how they're doing, and what their future against the Falcons and the Commodores might be in this kind of racing.
Well, you know, the Camaro is a car very indigenous to American racing. We race them there all the time. It's very heavy, though, compared to the Commodores and the Falcons, and of course we're stuck with the drum brakes on the rear. And as you just saw, one of our team cars had to change rear drums in maybe 2.5 hours. So it's really marginal whether we can keep the cars together for this period of time without having a few of the advantages the other cars have.
How tough are they to drive, Dick? Is it a lot of work getting around here? You're pretty wet from perspiration, I see.
Well, yes, it's work, but it's comfortable. The cars have power steering. I don't think the rest of them do. We have power brakes. So it's just a matter of the heat making you a little warm, but I came out of the car feeling great. I thought I was going to be dead.
What are you listening to on your AM/FM stereo? Dick Barber waiting now to go back in the car with Sam Posey as his co-driver. It's an all-American team. Ron Dixon, the entrant from Australia. And that's the story from the pits now, Evan.
Thank you very much, Chris. The order at the moment, leading the race, car 05, Peter Brock.
I understand, Evan, from the pits that Brock is about to pit and that Jim Richards will take over the wheel.
He has a lead of 6.1 seconds over car 6, Alan Grice. So Alan Grice will go into the lead. Well, the man who was fastest in practice yesterday among the small cars, Chris Hire in the little Golf, threading his way through traffic there, has had a lot of trouble and has been dropping back in the field. We might ask IBM just to punch up where the Golf of Chris Hire is, as they can give us information about individual cars. He's in car number 63. A front-wheel drive model, GTI fuel-injected version, and they were very quick in practice yesterday to take fastest position as far as the small cars, but had the misfortune to break a throttle cable early in this race, went into the pits and lost quite a lot of time, and now trying to fight his way back up through the field to do as well in the class as his practice form yesterday would have suggested. Chris Hire is a long way down the back. He's running in 10th place at the moment. He'll be sharing the wheel with Peter Lander, and they are 6 laps behind the leader in the class at the moment. That's car 54, the Gemini of Finnegan and Dane. But it's a long race, and they know the car is quick. They proved that in practice yesterday. One of the more intriguing vehicles in a race that almost inevitably over the year is going to see more and more emphasis on the smaller cars as the public taste swings towards that type of motor car. And Chris Hire in the front-wheel drive, fuel-efficient little Golf is certainly driving a car that is a car towards the future. So 4 races in one, and that's one of the cars struggling to do well in the smallest capacity here at Mount Panorama. You're watching the Hardie-Ferodo 1000, the great race.
you and your business conversations?
Yeah.
Okay, I know you. First of all, how did the damage occur to the left front of your car?
Small car waved me through on the outside of a corner and then changed his mind. He closed the hole, I just locked up and I just touched him actually. Well, obviously touched him reasonably hard, but slower traffic pulled across the front.
I noticed when you stopped just now, they paid no attention to it, made no effort to rectify it. How much damage has it done to the ability to drive the car?
Well, I just did it. I was doing 222 dead or something. How much is about what I was qualifying at? So the car's steering beautifully. In fact, that's what I tried to tell him on the way down. The radio broke down. I'm about to throw it as far as I can. I told him I came in, I said, there is no damage to the radiator, there's no damage to the steering. Pull the mudguard away, top it up with petrol, and I'm away. Well, you can see the confusion in the pits. I almost ran you over.
I got it. Don't worry about me. I've never been run over yet. I get out of the way. What about your chances of catching up now?
Well, we're well in front then. We're well in front then. A pretty quick stop. I think we'll be down once Jim gets out there now. I reckon we'll be. We're around at the front right now. We caught up a fair bit then.
A little bit of a development up the road, Peter. Allan Moffat standing by for Bob Morris and make it in the car. Think that'll make the race more interesting?
I suppose so. Satisfy a few Ford fans top of the mountain. Very disappointed to see Dick Johnson hit the bank. Very, very close to where I had it coming together with a small car. And I will bet it was the same problem. A small car moving across in front of him, and honestly, you've got nowhere to go. Unfortunately, those sort of problems usually occur in the early part of the race. And after a few near misses, the small car drivers usually sort of are aware of the speed differential. They tend to watch the mirrors early on.
Did you know what happened to Dick Johnson?
Well, he hit the retaining wall on the exit of the...
What happened, Peter? Somebody threw a rock out in front of him, and he hit the rock and crashed.
Oh, I thought it might have been a small car. That's terrible. That's terrible.
It really is. It's been a tragic thing. Not only did he crash the car, but he is an emotional wreck after it. It's a one-shot deal for them. They've lost everything.
I did see a rock on the road. In fact, I hit it myself, as a matter of fact. I came up there and the flags were just being raised because I wasn't too far behind Dick. And in fact, I ran over a bit of rock myself. That must have been the rock.
Well, it's unbelievable that some spectators would do that. It's a sad commentary on it. Well, take a good rest, Peter. Good luck.
Right up.
All right, a nice talk with Peter Brock as he goes back to get his rest. And back to you, Evan.
Thank you very much, Chris Economy. Well, you can see the confusion in the drivers' minds. They're not quite sure what's going on around them, and Peter had worked out his version of what must have happened to his rival, Dick Johnson. And the car's going much better than most of us thought. We thought he was in terrible trouble early on, but he's now back in the race and pulling away from Alan Grice, who's now in second spot. And here we have the scene of these two beautifully presented Camaros running around nose to tail. Camaros running a fair way back in the field.
Right behind them, we've got Jim Richards at the wheel of 05, and Jim's not circulating anywhere near as quickly as Peter Brock was, but of course he's probably taken a little time just into the circuit on race day. He went round that lap in 2:27.
I'm sure that Peter Brock would have said there's a lot of garbage out there, bits of broken cars and a few bits of gravel on the road. And Jim Richards will spend a couple of laps just getting the feel of the car to see how the brake pedal is. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if he rather doubted whether the car is as good as Peter Brock was saying, because it looks as though it's been knocked around with that battered front end. And he's just sort of feeling himself into it. But a magnificent driver, Jim Richards, came from New Zealand, where he had a great reputation for both racing and rallying. And in fact, if he didn't bother racing, he'd be one of the top rally drivers in the world. He is phenomenally good on slippery surfaces, which is a talent he shows whenever it rains on the racetracks, because there's no finer wet weather driver in Australia than the former New Zealander.
The two Avco Pepsi Camaros going round the circuit together at the moment. They're just ahead of Jim Richards in 05. The leading Camaro of those two is number 12 with Sam Posey at the wheel, followed up by car 2 with Ron Dixon. But Dixon, in fact, is in front by a couple of laps on the racetrack. Bartlett and Forbes in the 9 Network Camaro have completed 53 laps. In fact, they're all on 53 laps.
Yes, it's all 4 behind the leaders at this stage. So the Camaro's all going around the same. The Bartlett Forbes car was running second until they ran into rear brake cobbles. And this procession is something that Jim Richards decides he'll break up, and he pulls out alongside.
Well, Bob Stevens must obviously be at the wheel of the car number 2 Camaro at the moment. They've gone in for the pit stop that puts them all on the same lap. The 3 Camaros have all completed 53 laps and are 4 laps down on the lead.
Racing down Breville Straight. Not going terribly quickly, though. They must all have in their minds now the fact that they do have a braking problem. If they drive hard, they're not going to finish this race. Bob Stevens, well known to New South Wales racing fans, especially for his exploits in an old Ford Mustang at the wheel for Ron Dixon.
Okay, let's take a look shortly inside the car of Bobby Morris. And we believe that Bobby Morris will be partnered in today's Hardie-Ferodo 1000 by Allan Moffat, and there will be a driver change effected in approximately 17 minutes time. Okay, let's go inside the car, and Bobby's in good shape. We won't worry him. He's trying to make up time. Coming up to the top of the mountain. Hear the engine revving. Cuts into the right-hand side, now swings out to the left, just trims the wall. Stays about mid-track now. Into the left-hander. Out against the white line. Get ready for the dip and the turn left here. That concrete wall. Intimidating. Now, through the gears. We go over the top of the mountain. The right now to the left.
Squealing there as Bobby Morris throws the car around, straightens up, and the view opens up ahead of him, and he zips down Conrod Straight. Not a car in sight in front of him at the moment as he approaches the first hump. His left hand there on the gear lever. Up another notch, over the hump.
I think he's playing with the air conditioning there. He's working on a couple of switches on the left. Maybe trying to persuade a bit more ventilation in, because he'd be very hot out there, and you can see how the windscreen is plastered with insects.
Coming to the braking area at Murray's corner. Changing down. Around we go with Bobby Morris. Another gear change. Back across the start-finish line. Change down. The left-hander. On the way up Mountain Straight.
Fairly angry Bobby Morris there, calling out to the driver of the car in front and waving his fist as he went by.
Telling him to back off. And Bobby Morris roaring up Mountain Straight. A little irate with that smaller capacity car that was taking his line there as he came out of pit straight and took the left-hander in a Mountain Straight.
One thing I think we should recognise is the drivers in this race, particularly in the quick cars, are under immense emotional pressure. They've got to be at absolutely top pitch in terms of concentration for the full period of the race, and they get very wound up. It's a frightening business, as you can see. You know, put you into the front seat of the car alongside Bob Morris, and you could really have imagined just how hard it is, how close to the walls they go, how he has to try and save the tyres by not picking up the gravel. And Bob Morris trying terribly hard, carrying the Ford flag for him. Still has a chance of outright victory. Goes past the Chris Hire car, down through the S's again. A frightening part of the circuit here. Got some slower cars in front.
As we take a ride around Mount Panorama at Bathurst with Bobby Morris, and approximately 12 minutes before a driver change is effected, and then you'll be able to join Allan Moffat behind the wheel. We'll take a break and return to all the live action of the Hardie-Ferodo 1000.
Amongst the drivers too, but Bob and the cars and the camera standing up to it remarkably well at this stage.
Yes, doing a great job indeed is Bobby Morris. As we said, Chris Economaki is positioning himself in the pit area, and we have about 10 minutes before Bob is due in. There you can see the camera, how it just changed across. That was activated to show you the road. Now, down through the gears, onto pit straight. Pedal to the metal and run. Bobby Morris down into the left-hander now.
Interesting development, Mike. Just had word that car 35, the Don Smith Barry Seaton Capri, is in 8th position outright.
Goodness me.
Leading the class, obviously, the 3-litre class, and in 8th position outright.
Okay, we'll give you one more lap around the mountain with Bobby Morris, folks. Just watch the speed at which he catches some of these slower cars up to GTX Bend.
I would say, as we watch Bob Morris's car, that a lot of people will be concerned about some of the instrumentation. You may have seen on the right-hand side of the dashboard an amber. Oh, did you see that? There was the tray of one of the rescue vehicles on the left, and he just missed it as he came around the corner. Anyhow, on the right-hand side, there's a big amber warning light, and I think you'll find that that is to flash a signal if anything goes wrong in the car. The whole of the instrumentation will be linked up to, as they do in Grand Prix cars, so that the light will flash if anything goes wrong, and then he can look for the instrument to find which particular item may be at fault. He has the standard instruments plus a few more. A special panel in front of the camera, as you can see, as he comes up hard upon the Bill Gates Toyota Levin. And over on the right, you can see that amber light there. So if something goes wrong, it'll be so clear that Morris then will look to see whether it's oil pressure or water temperature or what it might be. Morris working hard as he goes down through the mountains. The man who won here in 1976 under very emotional conditions, was the national touring car champion last year, started this year with the Craven Mile team, didn't have a very happy season, switched to the Falcon halfway through, ran for the first time at Sandown Park, and was pretty happy with the car, although he retired with an overheating problem, but he thought it was a good effort for the first run, and now he's doing exceptionally well and has taken over from Dick Johnson as the man who was carrying the main hopes for the Ford camp. Unhappily, the car number one, the Allan Moffat vehicle, was one of the first retirements. He only went a few laps and called in after 3 circuits with such oil problems that he had to retire from the race because his team had put together an engine overnight, and unfortunately there was no chance to bed in the rings, and they didn't go in properly, and he had to pull out with a loss of oil. But he may take over from Bill O'Brien as co-driver in this car, which really would have the Ford fans up in the top of the hill shouting with glee.
Well, they need something to shout about because I think it's the only well, really competitive Ford left on the track at this stage, and so there's a lot of hopes resting on it. And Allan Moffat comes up with the pot of gold again, perhaps.
Yes.
He gets, well, obviously he's going to get to share the drive in this car, and could be right in amongst the thick of things again at Bathurst.
And talking of Fords, I've had a message passed up from Ross Palmer, who was the entrant for Dick Johnson in his car, and he's naturally terribly upset at what happened, but he has said that he'll be continuing his involvement with Dick Johnson. He'll put his entire advertising budget in to help him, and he says, I'm sure we'll be here next year, provided the ARDC can assure all competitors they'll have absolute crowd control at all times. And I also know that Mike Raymond is just checking on the situation as far as the appeal is concerned, and we'll have some information for you about the appeal at a later stage for you.
That's
in the
right.
meantime, as we watch Bobby Morris, he's still hard at work and going terribly fast, as you can see how close he comes to the fence up the top of the mountain, and the sort of stress he must be going through to keep that big car going so very fast down the top of the hill.
We have about 7 minutes, Evan, before Bobby Morris will come into pit, and his place will then be taken by Allan Moffat, and a great sporting act on the part of Bill O'Brien, who was co-driving in the Everlast Breville Channel 7 entry, to stand down because he believes that the car is running so strongly at the moment that if Allan Moffat can step into the car and give relief to Bob, that they'll be able to keep up their lap time. So I think it's a great effort on the part of Bill O'Brien, and I think, as I said before, we're about 7 or 6 minutes away before the driver change is effected, and Chris Economaki is already positioning himself in the pit area, and our cameras will cover the driver change, and we'll be able to give you a readout on time.
It looks like Fred Gibson and Joe Moore, their Falcon is out of business, the King George Tavern Falcon. They've had a fire in the motor, and it's been pushed behind the grid.
You might say it's overdone.
Yep, just a little
Bearing in mind Joe Moore's restaurant associations.
there's Bobby Morris along pit straight. Happy birthday, Barry Seaton.
Tell you what, I think all his birthdays have come at once. If the car continues to run the way that it is, leading the 3-litre class and in 8th position outright at the moment.
I think in fact Barry's in the pits having his birthday cake. It'll be Don Smith, who's co-driver of long-standing at the wheel now, who'll do a number of modest laps. Won't put a mark on the car if he follows past traditions. We'll just keep circulating and hand the car back to Barry, and they'll be going for a higher position outright, and hopefully the class award, which they presently are leading from the Master Bond car.
Well, that's the Alpha Courier sponsored Ford Capri. Barry Seaton, who is one of the all-time greats in terms of the small cars, steers them around very, very capably. There you can see the readout from our IBM computer of how they are running in class. Barry Seaton and Don Smith ahead of the Masterton Holmes entry of Colin Bond and Steve Masterton. In third, car number 37, the Capri of Peter Hopwood and Daly. In fourth place, 29, another Capri, the Nelson Farrell entry. Number 34, the Commodore, the Taylor Kennedy entry. Followed by number 31, that's in sixth place, that's the Stuart Warner Capri. In seventh place, car 28, the Mazda of Bryant and Shield. In eighth place, number 30, the Mazda of McLeod and Brewster. And in ninth place, number 39, the Mazda of Jones and Leeds. Our thanks to IBM.
And unhappily, a lot of those from about the 5th one down, Mike, the cars aren't running. Which just shows you the way the field really has been affected among the smaller cars as well, the big ones. There are only a couple of them competitive, but it's a pretty fair scrap being led by this car at the moment among those. And Don Smith lifts the wheel up and takes the car out close to the fence. The retirement rate, in fact, has been quite severe. The first car to go was the Army Falcon of Muir and Hibbard, which only did 2 laps and retired with mechanical problems. Soon to follow, unhappily again, was Allan Moffat. John Fitzpatrick, who came from America, where he now resides, didn't get a drive. But they went out with rings that just hadn't bedded in, and Allan Moffat was out of the race with his original entry after 3 laps. The Mazda of Jones and Leeds crashed. And that was a car that was expected to do exceptionally well in view of Barry Jones's success at Amaru Park meetings this year. And they went out after only 9 laps. The Jaguar of Goss and Gerard, a car we haven't had a chance to follow because unfortunately it didn't last very long. A most interesting entry, a delightful car which John Goss was running, but they had mechanical troubles and it only survived 14 laps. They did have an engine prepared originally for the race and weren't very happy with it, put a standard motor in and didn't practice, so it was a car.
Oh, hell, there is.
We have a fire in the pits. It's Chris Hire.
63, the Golf, the VW Golf of Chris Hire.
Gloves are on fire. That was like a refueling fire, and that was a big fire too. It was extinguished very, very quickly, but by goodness me, there was fire everywhere in the pits.
There was a great flash from the back of the car. The tank went. Now, they're the gloves of this man, I'd say, whether it's the driver or one of the pitmen. A lot of people affected then. It was the Chris Hire Golf. Other cars are clear. There's no other car in the pits at that moment. You can see the tail of the Golf, which was running 10th in its class, but had been fast in practice yesterday. The pall of smoke
Aerial view there from the Channel 7 helicopter. You can see the fire is under control. Very quick to get to it, just as well too, but I would think that their racing is done for the day.
Yes, there's no way they'd clean the car up. There's so much foam on it. You can see the great white spot there on the pit lane where the foam has been doused. It really was an enormous fire for just a fraction. Only went for about 2 or 3 seconds, and then it was put out so quickly by the fire marshals here.
We'll recall the fire in the Allan Moffat pit some 3 years ago, and that fire that we just witnessed was much worse than that, but it was out almost as fast. Chris Economaki is moving into position down in the pits to give us a report on that flash fire. If you hear us, Chris, take it away. We're just getting into position now. As you can imagine, there's some confusion down in the pit area. And our pit man today, Chris Economaki, has to make sure they can get in close enough for the action, but then stay out of the pit road so that someone doesn't run him over that's trying to get back onto the track.
Chris Hire had completed 49 laps and was in 39th position overall, 10th in the 1.6-litre class.
Chris Hire, I'm not sure what he's driving. He's walking around there. He's got most of his uniform off, but he may have taken it off because of the fire. We did see a red glove burning. It looked like a driver's glove, although it may have been used by one of the refueling crew. The marshal's not too sure about it. They're looking around and just checking to make sure that it's out. Over to you now, Chris Economaki.
Well, we're down here by number 63. Between the cars coming and the fire equipment, our wires are getting stretched a little bit taut. The car is covered with fire extinguishers. How you feeling?
A bit warm.
A bit warm. How did the fire start?
I wish I knew.
And did much of it get to you?
Right, a bit warm on my back, that's about all.
I saw a glove out on the track on fire. Was that your glove you threw off?
No, that wasn't mine. That was one of the fuel fillers.
Okay, now taking a look at the car, will you be able to get it back in?
I
think so, huh?
We're out for the day now.
Gotta wait till next year, huh?
Yep.
Okie doke, better luck next time. Well, just a flash fire. Unfortunately, the results are purely mechanical. Not so many burns for any people about. Back to you.
Thank you, Chris Economaki, and a real tribute there to the efficiency of the fire marshals here. We haven't had to test them in the past like that. As Mike Raymond was saying, we had a fire which actually injured a marshal's hand some time ago when before the dry brake system, and Allan Moffat's car caught fire, but that was nothing compared to that. That was a match flame compared to a forest fire. That really boomed and lasted for a couple of seconds and it was totally extinguished. But unhappily, the car has been drowned as well. Whatever damage may have been done by the fire has certainly been added to by the amount of foam put in, but a very dangerous potential situation has been avoided. Bad luck, though, for Chris Hire. Had a lot of hopes of doing well, particularly after his very fast practice time yesterday, which saw him at the top of the list among the 1.6-litre cars. Well, now we've got Dick Johnson back in the pits and maybe feeling just a little more philosophical about things. To see what he's like, once again, it's back to Chris Economaki.
Well, we're down here in the pits with Dick Johnson and his car owner, Ross Palmer. We told you before that it's the sad story of Dick and how he left the race while leading. But I understand up in the booth now, you have an announcement for Dick and car owner Ross Palmer, Mike Raymond. Perhaps you can tell Dick firsthand what that announcement is. Hello, Mike. I guess.
Okay. Dick and Ross, can you both hear us down there? Can you both hear us?
The Ford Motor Company.
I can.
Okay, all right, that'll do. Dick, our switchboards around Australia have been jammed with people who have wanted really to do something to keep you racing. We understand the budget that has been consumed and the what happened on top of the mountain that has prevented you from continuing on in the race. And we've also had a call from Edsel Ford. And Edsel Ford has agreed to match on behalf of the Ford Motor Company, dollar for dollar, any money donated by viewers of Channel 7 to the Dick Johnson Racing Team. And I think that is a magnificent effort on the part of Edsel Ford on behalf of the Ford Motor Company. So every dollar that goes to the team from viewers of Channel 7 who send something along to you, care of ATN Channel 7 in Sydney, that money will be matched dollar for dollar by Edsel Ford on behalf of the Ford Motor Company.
Well, Mike, that's to me is unbelievable because I don't know exactly what to say because something like this has never happened to me before. And certainly in the first instance, I hope it never has to happen again. But I would sincerely like to thank all those people and Edsel Ford for his true support because I know that with our car, the Ford Falcon, the way it was more than capable of winning this race and doing it easy because believe me, the car was superb and I owe just so much to those boys who have put so much time into it. Thank you very much, Mike.
Dick, I don't think your car owner Ross knows. Edsel Ford, on behalf of the Ford Motor Company, has offered to match dollar for dollar any monies that are contributed by the listeners to this telecast in hopes to get you people back in business. I happen to know Mr. Ford. He's a racer from the States. We like to call him a racer. That means he belongs. He enjoys the sport. He has a great feeling and an empathy for it. And I think that's a wonderful gesture on Mr. Ford's part. And I hope that the contributions are high enough to where you can get back in business.
That's absolutely magnificent. I'd just like to make one comment. I'm not the actual owner of the car. Dick has put his life savings on the line in this car. And a small group of Queensland companies have got together to help get our act together here at Bathurst. It's just unbelievable this could happen, but it has.
Well, I think what we're seeing here today now is the a company, a multinational company, can have a heart like the Ford Motor Company. And I extend my personal thanks to Mr. Ford and the Ford Motor Company. 3 cheers, and let's better luck for you guys.
Oh, well, they've still got the car to do the job. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, back to the boat.
Okay, thank you, Chris, and I'll just repeat that again so that we're absolutely specific. That Edsel Ford, on behalf of the Ford Motor Company, has agreed to match dollar for dollar for the funds donated by viewers of Channel 7 to the Dick Johnson Racing Team. And you can send any contribution along that you may wish to put. And keep in mind, it has to be sent to ATN Channel 7, New South Wales, 212.
We're watching car number 54.
Barry Seeker, yes, it's car 54. It's one of the 1600cc entries.
It's the one leading,
Gemini. That's right.
Terry Finnegan, who'll be driving with Peter Dane. Peter Dane, it's a Gemini. And they're leading the class. We saw one of the favourites eliminated just a moment ago in the pit fire, which took Chris Hyre's VW Golf out of the race. But there's the order on the IBM scoring service. The Golf still shown as being in the 10th place, but of course not going to go beyond the 49 laps that is shown there. Those are the 10 still counting in the class.
Meantime, back at the head of the field, it's still car 25, the Marlborough Holden Dealer Team Commodore of John Harvey and Ron Harrop. They're in the lead, and they have a 9-second call over the car holding down second spot, and that's the Channel 7 Breville XD Falcon with Bobby Morris still at the wheel.
One obvious thing, just looking at as we see the leader of the small class go around, is the reliability of this class. They seem to be doing better than the others. A much lower level of retirement. All the other classes have suffered fairly heavily in this extraordinary race in which so many people have had trouble. But Finnegan circulating very regularly. They're many laps down, of course, compared to the bigger cars, but having a real scrap among themselves.
We were expecting to see Bobby Morris come in to hand over to Allan Moffat. In fact, I think Chris Economaki has Allan Moffat with him down in the pits right now.
Okay, Alan, you're going to get back in the race. What about stepping into a car you've never driven before from a standpoint of seat positioning, seat belt adjustment, all that stuff?
We're about the same, Chris, and the cars are prepared good. Malloy and I have been working together. We're all mates in this business, and we got parts, and some of my parts are in this car anyway.
Well, here you go. It's time to go to work, Alan. Good luck.
Good on you, Edsel. That's a great hit.
Okay. And now here's the car in the pits. Bob Morris will be getting out. And, oh, we've got some damage here in the front corner. Damage in the front corner of the car here. So it's been a tough day for equipment here at Bathurst with the rubbish, as it's called here, inflicting a lot of damage, sheet metal damage on the cars. And the drivers now are getting in. Morris is adjusting Moffat's seat harness to help him get in, filling up the fluid container so that Alan will have something to drink. Unfortunately, we forgot to start our stopwatch when all this began, so we'd have a clocking on this, but it seems to be going quite well. And for the second time today, the car is getting new tires. Now, this is rather a surprise. Before the race, Morris said he hoped the car could go the distance on 2 sets of tires. Well, they've already used up, they're on their 3rd set now, at least on the right side of the car, which is an indication of how hard the car is being pushed out there on the racetrack. Windshield being wiped, and it's one-stop service at its glorious best down here on pit road for the Mount Panorama circuit. The fueling process is over, the tire changing, and there's oil being added as well. So it should be just a few moments before the car goes off. We're going to try then and get a word with driver Bob Morris, who is, there's a fire under the hood, here. A small fire under the hood. We're going to need a fire extinguisher down here. We're really in on what's happening at this pit stop. We wonder if Allan Moffat knows how to work with the television, whether our mics are hooked up to him or not. And a couple of seconds, it'll be able to go. And he's off and running, rejoining the fray. And let's now try and get a word with Bob Morris over here, driving the Channel 7 Breville entry.
While you're searching for him, Chris, his stop was 1 minute 43.8 seconds.
A minute. Can we have a look at you here, Bob? 1 minute 46 seconds. Tires, gas. We had a little fire under the hood. I'll let you know. Put out. What kind of shape are you in?
I'm a little bit tired, but the car is brand new.
Really?
Yeah, the Ford is running like to perfection. Absolutely as we started. The temperatures are hanging in the right places, braking exactly the same place, brand new.
Did you have a little trouble earlier with an ignition switch or something?
No, I was alternating the fans because we were getting hot in the traffic very early. I had to lay off it a bit. I didn't want to get involved with any dices, and I didn't want to get caught behind anybody because of the temperatures, because we were stroking along and it's going well. But the big problem I had early, I flat spotted the tyres avoiding Dick Johnson's accident. And I was driving on tenterhooks waiting for the tyre to blow. I could feel it was a very big flat spot, and I just had to go as far as I could. And every right-hand corner I went round, I half expected to run into the fence because the tyre was ready to go any time.
The right front corner, Bob, has got some damage. The lens of the headlamp is out and everything. What caused all that?
Well, I bumped John Harvey at Forest Elbow. It was an accidental thing, and, you know, I had a bit of a talk to him. He said, it's all right. You know, it was one of those things. I slid in there a little bit deep, and he takes a different line, and it was just a tap. And it broke the glass, and it was a little bit dangerous because going down the main straight, bits of glass were flying off. I could see them shooting past the window like bullets. And I didn't want any to come inside.
What about the decision to replace your regular co-driver with Moffat? Were you consulted on that?
I was at the first pit stop. We'll see. I think, you know, we've got 3 good drivers, we've got 4 good drivers to get the car home, so we're good.
How tough will it be for Moffat in the first few laps getting into a strange automobile?
He's a professional driver. He's driven his own Falcon round here. It'll be no trouble. 2 or 3 laps, he'll be down to the right times. And, you know, I just hope we keep it going.
A lot of breath, though, Bob. Well, the big and the important question, Bob, will Allan be able to run our television camera properly?
Well, we didn't have the sound hooked up, apparently, so the camera is going, and he just...
Give us great pictures.
Well, I'd like to have a look at some of them.
Well, come on up and take a look now.
Right, but I must say that it's fantastic for Bill O'Brien to step aside and let Allan Moffat in the car.
Well, okay, have your drink and take your rest, and thanks for being so cooperative. Bob Morris, a tired but a very happy man, and he says the Falcon's going to win. Back to the booth.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris O'Connor. There's Big Al. Number 7 is the number, and we'll have more pictures from the car and plenty more action live from Mount Panorama at Bathurst as soon as we return. We're back live at Mount Panorama in the cockpit with Allan Moffat. And I think it will give us an opportunity to make a comparison in the driving style of Bobby Morris that we've seen throughout the telecast today, and Allan Moffat. Moffat in more the reclining position and very, very graceful with the arms. It all seems to be somewhat of a Sunday drive, although he's fairly busy at this stage because of the location at the racetrack.
Yeah, unusual driving style, Mark. I've been watching him. I've never had the chance to see him, but in action naturally before. But watch his left hand. It's the working hand, and it has the most unusual position on the wheel. And that's more than most people would recommend in terms of the crossover. When he's cornering, he has both hands up in the classic 10-2 or maybe 1/4-3 position. But when he's on the straight, he just gives his left hand a rest and puts it on the spoke like a Sydney taxi driver.
I know many Sydney taxi drivers that don't drive as smoothly as that, let me tell you.
They drive as quickly. Look at the left hand, the way he has that reverse grip. Most unusual.
There he is coming across the top of the mountain, and our cameras will follow him inside and outside the car as he now starts the drop now into the S's. Down through here, very, very tidy indeed. Moffat won't make any mistakes at all. He'll take his time, sort out the car, make sure how it's running, how it suits him. Then you can start to see with all the temperatures, all the gauges are running as they should. I think you'll see Moffat have one big shot for a run at the leaders. Now, the last corner that brings him back onto Breville Conrod straight, changes up gear. And this will be the relaxed position as you see Moffat running down the straightaway, absolutely flat strap. That looks like a Sunday driver. hardly movement at all. There's crosswinds as they take the speed hump, which brings them down into the bottom part of the course. But there you can see, coming down to the speed hump now, you might see a flick of the hand. Not too much breeze blowing through there. Now down through the gears. To third.
Just a moment to
one more.
Peter Board when he returns from having his lunch.
Stand on the gas.
Into the pits in the 9th sports entry.
That's change now. Very smooth in the cockpit indeed is Allan Moffat. As he heads up now to left-hander, bring him back onto the run, top of the mountain one more time. Still has that blinker running. I think that would be the last thing that would be concerning him at this stage, unless someone tries to pass him on the inside. Pit area activity as we see Kevin Bartlett, who was pole sitter for this race. No, not Kevin Bartlett, or is it? Bob Forbes, rather. And once again, they're changing rear brakes. This is the, unfortunately, the legacy that the Commodores have to carry in this race. They're already at a weight disadvantage. They have a 350 cube motor in comparison to the smaller block Holden, but the Ford is up to 351. And hopefully by next year's race, the Commodores will be able to run four-wheel disc brakes, because I think it will break the spirit of everyone running them, because they have to run against four-wheel disc brake cars, particularly in the open category.
The three Commodores in the race. This one, car 9, the 9 network car with Bob Forbes and Kevin Bartlett, is in 15th position. Car 2, the Avco Pepsi Commodore with Ron Dixon, is in 20th position. And car 12, the second of the Avco Pepsi cars, is in 21st position outright. Wheel nuts going on. It seems to be quite a leisurely little pit stop, doesn't it?
I think they'd rather have their homework properly for their pit stops. That they know they're going to be lengthy ones, so they may as well make sure that they're all correct, because I think they're now running just to finish the race, and I would think they'd be looking at finishing in the top 10, because the attrition rate in past Hardie-Ferodo 1000s really gets high around about mid-afternoon. 1:03 Eastern Standard Time across Australia. So our race has been running for 3 hours and 3 minutes. Shot from Terry Lee in our Channel 7 chopper, high above Mount Panorama. The pit straight that you can see. It takes them into the left-hander and then the climb up the mountain.
On the way up the mountain straight. That's the view. Panorama, at Mount Panorama. Just coming round that turn there is 25. John Harvey, who's the race leader at this stage. The second of the Holden Dealer Team Commodores.
That's on 69 laps completed via the IV.
In fact, with that pit stop for Bobby Morris changing over to Allan Moffat, the Dealer Team Commodores are probably running first and second on the track at the moment.
Alrighty, we'll catch up with that a little later, but certainly John Harvey. We haven't seen a great deal of John, but he's been doing a great job out in front for the Marlborough Holden Dealer Team. There's Moffat going up the top in company with one of the Team Commodores and also one of the Avco Pepsi Commodores, having a nice day.
Confirmed, by the way, the Dealer Team cars are first and second on the track. Car 25, John Harvey leading the race from 05, Peter Brock, and in third place we've got car 6, the Craven Mild Commodore with Alan Grice. And there's the Channel 7 Breville Ford entry with Allan Moffat at the wheel.
I think the last time that Alan drove for Bob Morris for the Breville Channel 7 team was at Amaroo Park, and he had one start in a Tirana and won.
What's the last time a driver changed cars in mid-race at the Hardie-Ferodo?
Quite a while. But as Bobby said, they have 4 drivers. They also have John Fitzpatrick, who could be brought in from the wings. Otherwise, it was a long trip from Los Angeles for John Fitzpatrick to co-drive with Allan Moffat, and I would think he would also be happy to have a run today in the Hardie-Ferodo 1000. straightaway. Moffat in the Ford and the Commodore starting to tailgate as they come over the speed hump, as you can see here. Just into view is the blue and red Commodore. That's the Geisler Rogers car. Here comes one of the Capris, and then the dice between Moffat and Peter Brock. Ron with Jim Richards, of course, at the wheel. Takes him nicely. That was a beautiful passing one over there. Moffat sits in behind. The two of them run up mid straight away beneath the Hardie Bridge.
John Harvey and Allan Grice between them have got the lion's share of the lap money. First 80 lap section sponsored by Coca-Cola bottlers at $50 a lap. Harvey and Harrop picked up $1,150 for leading 23 laps. That's in car 25. And car 6, over mile Commodore of Allan Grice and John Smith, they picked up $1,250. So they've got just a little better at this stage of the lap money, although Harvey is picking it up now.
John Harvey just turning on the run up to Mountain Straight now. 14 follows him through. Harvey about 200 metres clear of that car and starting up towards GTX Bend. We'll take a break from the Hardie-Ferodo 1000, but there's more exciting action coming to you live as soon as we return.
That's John Harvey on the screen at the present time, coming towards the end of pit straight, left-hander, on his way back to the top of the mountain once more on a long, hot day at Mount Panorama for the 1980 Hardie-Ferodo 1000. The competition's been so hot, there's been an enormous dropout rate in this race today. But Harvey's still there, Brock is still there, Morris is still there, so is Allan Grice and Peter Janson. Gary Rogers. Camaros are still there, but trailing the pace somewhat now, about 4 laps down on the outright leader, Peter Brock. Harvey in second place. Allan Grice third, Peter Janson fourth. Bob Morris holding down 5th spot at the present time after a pit stop to change over to Allan Moffat.
Well, at this stage of the race, I would think that would be Ron Harrop in the co-driver's seat.
Yes, Mike, we have a report from the police, in fact from Wayne Bottom, Police Public Relations. Police have been investigating the situation as far as the Dick Johnson incident was concerned in the rock. And their questions there have confirmed, as far as they're concerned, that the stone was dislodged accidentally, that someone either tripped on it or let it roll, but it wasn't a deliberate act. So what happened, as far as Dick Johnson, regrettable as it was caused accidentally. And I'm a little pleased about that, despite the terrible implications as far as Dick was concerned, because it does shine a little more creditable light upon Australian spectators. Again, repeating, as far as the official police investigation is concerned, they are satisfied that the rock that was dislodged was done so accidentally. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Evan. Well, it would still appear that if rocks are around on the top of the mountain up there, it might be an idea to have a chain mesh fence anyway. That way it'd stop them falling in the path of the drivers accidentally. Okay, the race continues. There's the 25 car coming up along the pit straight. And we spotted Johnny Harvey in the pits a while ago with Peter Brock, so we assume, and our checkers have told us, that Ron Harrop is in fact behind the wheel of that car, and they are currently placed second in the field.
30 seconds behind teammate Peter Brock with Jim Richards at the wheel of 05 at the moment.
In third place, Allan Grice and Johnny Smith. John, of course, one of the top Formula drivers. Peter Janson, Larry Perkins in 4th place in another Commodore. Bobby Morris in 5th in the Falcon, with co-driving it with Allan Moffat. 6th place is the Gary Rogers Geisler Commodore. 7th place held down by Alan Brown and Brian Sampson. 8th by Pete Geoghegan, Gulson and another Commodore. 9th place by Gary Cook and Warwick Brown. And 10th place, Barry Seaton and Don Smith in the Ford Capri.
Pete Geoghegan's been very quiet all day in car 21, unobtrusive, circulating around there, and just a couple of laps off the pace.
Hello, we've got trouble. This is the Ron Harrop at the wheel of the second of the two Marlborough Holden Dealer Team cars, and I think they have big troubles. They are just smoke pouring out of the tail section of the car, and he has really eased the pace off, almost stopping to a halt. I think he is, in fact. So we have a problem. As you can see, the car has pulled off the circuit at the top of the mountain. Spectators all craning their necks to try and see if they can get a glimpse of whether the car has parked, and that is now going to put the pressure fairly on the shoulders of Peter Brock, who at this stage continues to lead the Hardie-Ferodo 1000, but his teammate John Harvey and Ron Harrop, co-driving the number 25 car, have parked on top of the mountain.
What an amazing race this is. Ron Harrop and John Harvey's car off the track at the top of the mountain as they pulled off the road. Car 63, the VW Golf that we thought was burnt to a crisp and would never see light of day again, has just pulled out and rejoined the race, gone up Mountain Straight.
Well, they have a motor problem here, and I think it is Ron Harrop. Fire
under the car too.
It's on fire, or the pipe is still burning. I would imagine he's got the engine shut down, but there'd be no point in leaving the motor run. It's in a pretty well, it's in an area where it shouldn't be. Let's put it that way. You can see how close the car's come. Fortunately, they used the inside curb to get the fast line through that corner.
Fire marshal quickly on the scene, had to duck across the track with the traffic.
Yes, I'd say, well, the indications are maybe that they have blown an engine. I don't want to be too harsh and I make that speculation, but Ron Harrop, he hasn't removed the helmet as yet. Ron Harrop, of course, took over from John Harvey in last year's race. Harvey was well placed in the race, and the car that they were running, the Toronto A9X, ran out of brakes and plummeted into the concrete safety barrier. There's Brocky passing now. Uh-oh, we've got one still running. So Peter Brock now knows that his backup car, the buffer car, is not there anymore.
0-5. Peter Brock, that man is remarkable. And the car, because here he is again, leading the field in the Hardie-Ferodo 1000. What dramas there have been in this race today.
Well, the car, according to Peter, Jim Richards, of course, is at the wheel of the car. Peter Brock would be in the pit area, and maybe Chris Economaki down in the pit area will be able to get a chat with shortly, maybe the team chief, and find out exactly what the problem is up on top of the mountain with the number 25 Marlborough car.
Here comes Peter Brock. We'd like to think it was the home stretch. It will be sometime later this afternoon. Jim Richards, of course, at the wheel. We tend to forget that at times. Everybody talking about 0-5 and Peter Brock, but it is Jim Richards, Rocky's co-driver, at the wheel at the present time.
That's correct. That's the race leader's car, Peter Brock, but at the wheel of that car is Jimmy Richards. Peter Brock in the pit area, and I would think would be talking on two-way to the top of the mountain to Ron Harrop, who's co-driving the second car, to find out exactly what went wrong. Up to the cutting. Through here. Now the steep climb up to the top of the mountain. And Jimmy Richards is a driver who has co-driven to victory here with Peter Brock twice previously. A great driver, one of the most underrated drivers in Australian motorsport. A very quiet man. He's certainly not outgoing, keeps to himself a lot, but they call upon him to do a job once a year for the Marlborough Holden Dealer Team, and that's be the winning co-driver. And he's pulled that trick 2 out of 3 so far, and shooting for the hat trick this afternoon.
It's the 7th time that Jim Richards has raced here. He's raced everything too. Not on this track specifically, but he's driven rally cars. He's driven speedway. There's Peter Brock. Where's that car gone?
Yes, I wouldn't think Peter would be too happy, but I would think would be aware of it at this stage. Perhaps we can get our pit people. Yes, I see Evan Green rushing down to get the latest on the Commodores. We'll take a break and then come back live with more action of the great race, the Hardie-Ferodo 1000.
As we told you a little while ago, Chris Hire, that amazing little VW Golf, after that fire that looked to have put it out of the race for the day, is back on the track and circulating. Great effort. Meantime, Evan Green's got some further news for us in the pits.
Thank you very much. I've got Peter Brock here. Another word on the VW. It's running well. Peter Lando is at the wheel. And Chris Hire said he's amazed it's running, but while it's running, they're going to keep it going. But one car that isn't running, Peter Brock, is that of your teammate with Ron Harrop driving. Do you know what the trouble is?
John Harvey was driving, actually. He just changed over. No idea what the trouble is. I believe it was the engine, and I think but the only bit of information I've heard is that John gave the thumbs down on the Channel 7 screen, and we picked that up. So I'd like to know myself just what it was, but...
Was it giving any problems before?
Not that I know of, no. I've been having a driver change, a shower, and having a bit of a rest, and they just walked up and said, John's out. I was a bit of surprise, really.
And how's your own car running? What's the message you get from Jim Richards?
Very well. I just walked over to the bench there to see how it was going along, and just gave me a little bit of a wave to keep things rolling along nicely, because we're the way we're sort of organising our pit stops and the fuel economy, the way it's working out today, we're going to have to stop for a major, a long pit stop and then one short one again. So we want to have a little bit of time up our sleeve.
Yeah, now that bump you had early on where you hit a slower car that got in your way, that could be a very critical factor in bringing you into the pits earlier, the way the race is turning out.
Well, such a pathetically slow pit stop. There was nothing, all I wanted to come in was to check see if the fender was rubbing. I told them nothing was damaged. Perhaps replace the tyre, pull the fender away, top it up with fuel. And when I went to drive off, I believe I leapt over quite a lot of Channel 7's equipment to get out of the pits. So there was people in front of the car and everywhere.
I wish your example had been followed by some of the others, but unfortunately some of our equipment has been run over here, and we're having a few problems from the pits. There's your car. We're watching it through the mountain. Maybe, Peter, you could just drive us around the circuit from the top view. Yes, well, Jim's just come out of the dipper there, and he'll be just changing out of second into third now. Into that right-hand bank where Peter Williamson crashed really heavily, in third, then back to second for the tight pit. It's very slow at that point there. He's got the apex nicely, and he's got the outside edge of the nicely there. Out of second, out now. Run up in third and top now. And then it takes a long time in the Commodore to actually reach the same sort of speeds that we were getting in the Tirana because of the less horsepower. But we've got a very good shape. And around about now, we're getting up to 5.5, 5.8 in top. Just getting a wave there from my pit people to tell me I'm due out the car very shortly. And it's getting about 6.5 in top, Evan. Thank you, Peter. Before you go, stand up and let us see what you're wearing, because Peter has to go back and get dressed. If we can just cut back to a view of the Peter Brock you see in the pits as we follow his car. Not me, but the man on my right. If you can just swing around and look down at the shorts, that's the thing. The shorts, yeah. The footy shorts, yeah. Peter Brock, you wanted back in the pits. Yes, thank you for sparing us the time. Thank you, Evan. Right. While I was talking to Peter, that's the way the rushing up and really gave an agitated signal to Gary Wilkinson, so they've dragged Peter Brock off. But thanks for the time he spared with you. Back to you again, Gary.
Thanks, Mike. Well, that's the way the lead driver relaxes when he's not behind the wheel. Quick shower, put on the footy shorts and a T-shirt, and it's the best way to stay cool. Peter Brock is going to be back in action on the track again very shortly. Meantime, I had the clock on Bobby Morris. Well, it's not Bobby Morris, is it? It's Allan Moffat in the Channel 7 Breville XD Falcon, and as he comes to the end of the straight and begins to turn up towards the mountain again, he's circulating quite slowly in 2 minutes 35. Quite slow for Allan Moffat, 2:35. The aerial view there you can see of car 26 going across the top of the mountain is the Recar Consolidated Industries entry with the wild man from Queensland, Ron Wanless, at the wheel at the present time, coming across the top of the mountain, the view from the Channel 7 helicopter. On the track, 05 is in front with Jim Richards at the wheel, about 1 minute and 10 seconds ahead of I think Janson in car 4 is probably now, yes, in second place. Car 4, the Cadbury Schweppes Commodore in second place. And then car 6, which is the Craven Wild Commodore of Alan Grice. In the 3-litre class, the birthday boy, Barry Seaton, continues to lead there in his Capri, being co-driven by Don Smith. The 2-litre class, we'll get a check on that shortly, but I think that Peter Williamson's still leading there. Seaton and Smith certainly still leading the 3-litre class from Bond, the Bond and Masterton Holmes Capri, then another Capri with Hopwood and Daly, and Capri again follows that with Nelson and Farrell. But over in the pits right now, Green's got a man that we'd like to talk to, Peter Williamson.
Yes, guess who? Normally you hear his voice or see the image from the windscreen, but you don't get much of a chance to see him. Peter, how are things going out on the track today?
We're running very strongly. We have no mechanical problems, Evan, but we seem to have a problem making a connection with Channel 7 at the minute.
Oh, well, this might be your chance to talk to our director, Phil Berry, while you're on air.
Yeah.
What's your problem?
I don't seem to be hearing from John Porter and Mike Raymond by radio, and we're having radio difficulties, it appears.
All right, well, the message is over. If they can fix it, I'm sure they will. The picture, though, is coming through strong.
Yeah.
How is the race compared to last year? From the point of view of a spectator, it seems to be much more packed with incident and maybe a more dangerous race to drive in.
Yes, it seems to me that there's some smaller cars by the Gemini brand who seem to have a complete disregard for their mirrors. I've had 3 or 4 incidents where I've tried to overtake and been forced almost off the road. There are 2 offenders. I think we should do something about it later on, though. But the other things that seem to be happening, it's becoming more of a class battle. We're having a battle with Salika and an Escort, and I see Barry Seaton's having a mighty battle with the Mastertons, and we're having a class battle for the outright lead, so it's far more incident-packed.
Now, you have no problems as far as your car's concerned?
At this moment, we have no problems whatsoever. No.
What are your plans for the rest of the race in terms of pit stops?
We have 1 to make, and which will take, the last one took 35 seconds, so we should be in and out in that time, and we'll just carry on the way we're going.
What will you do in that time?
We'll just change 4 tyres. We've been running softer rubbers, and we're going to change 4 tyres and roll on from there.
Why have you gone to the softer rubber?
Well, being a smaller car, we've got to take every advantage of more coefficient of friction of the tyres, and we can sort of build up some speed that way. Our car's slightly lighter, and now the track's getting oilier, and we need to go a bit quicker towards the end.
Did you give Mick Quinn any particular instructions when he went out in the car to do this?
Yes, I told him the temperature's up, but I think I've been slipstreaming so many people that I think I'm not getting any cold air in the front of the car. And I said to him not to worry about the temperature gauge, but keep out from behind cars.
Now, what are the things you've got to think about when you're at the wheel of a driving car? You mentioned, for instance, you can't be too close behind a car for too long or it'll cause overheating. What other troubles do you have to bear in mind, apart from just going quickly?
Well, one of the problems I'm finding in this particular race is the fumes from other vehicles driving in heavy traffic. The carbon monoxide fumes are quite stinging to your eyes, and have to be very careful. I try and make sure I get plenty of air. And because I think it makes you a bit lazy, and you don't realise it. And so I get out in the airstream, away from the other cars, down the straightaways if I can.
How do you offer ventilation within the car itself, though? You don't have the windows down, of course.
Oh, I've got the window down, the driver's side, but it seems I don't know what it is, but the fumes at this particular day are quite bad, and my eyes sting quite badly, and I'm not troubled by that normally. The other thing, I think in a long race, right now, is towards the end of your session, as the laps go on, your reflexes tend to slow down because you lose fluids and you're getting tired without knowing it, and you've just got to make absolutely sure you don't brake too late and lock up front wheels, and go off the edge of the road and pick up a tyre. And they're the important things you've got to watch for.
Now, last year you were complaining of cramps towards the end. What have you done to try and make sure that doesn't happen again this year?
Well, I went to a very good doctor, and he told me I had restrictions in my feet, and I take a course of tablets prior to the race, and it thins my blood down without effect to my reflexes or my mental attitude, and I don't have any more problems anymore.
Any special exercises?
Yes, I exercise regularly every day.
What sort of exercise do you do?
Oh, there's sort of leg exercises and muscle and back exercises. It appears that one of my problems being so heavy and being in a car that corners so rapidly, and of course I develop so much centrifugal force that my muscles tend to clamp my blood vessels and make it even hard for blood to reach my muscles, and I have that problem because of my size.
Now, this must be a real problem. The sheer sideways force is quite unbelievable as far as an ordinary person is concerned. Oh, we've got a problem there. Back to you, Gary Wilkinson.
Well, Evan, let's get a look at this car. What is it? Lost the wheel completely. The whole lot's gone. Fortunately, he was in a fairly straight line when it happened, and not in too much heavy traffic. The car's disappeared around the corner at the moment. Its wheel plus axle is parted from the car altogether. Just at the top of Conrod Straight, coming out of Forest Elbow.
Whoops-a-daisy.
He wants to get off the edge as fast as he can. Looks like he's intent on trying to make it down as far as the pits, maybe get a new... he'll get to the pits, that's the intention. He wants to stay in the race. From this view, we still can't tell which car it is precisely.
Well, he's got
one of the smaller capacity cars, obviously.
Got a great dice going on here right behind him, and trying to struggle to make it back to the pit area. If he's on two-way communication, his crew will be now expecting him, but they'd better be expecting him. We'll take a look at how that wheel came adrift from the car. Pow, axle and all. Well, if he's on two-way, oops-a-daisy. Well, if he's on two-way communication, they'd better be ready with a wheel and an axle.
Well, it's interesting that wheel and axle coming out like that. One of America's greatest drivers died because of an accident. One of America's greatest drivers, Bill Schindler, died because of an accident just like that. A wheel and axle came out, and the wheel lay in the middle of the track with the axle standing straight up, and Schindler came around in his car and, not seeing the axle, straddled it. And when he got to the thing, it pole vaulted the car, and he lost his life in that crash because of the exact same situation as that. Now, the reason this car can get to the pits is because of the locked rear end. That means that both rear wheels drive the same, and with a normal road car with a differential, you wouldn't be able to move with three wheels like that.
Chris, this is the car, the Alan Goff entry, that crashed into the wall at the top of the mountain yesterday and was virtually written off and had to be rebuilt overnight.
Well, that may have weakened a part in there that perhaps they didn't see yesterday and that has given way today.
They're still trying to struggle back into their pit area, and that's a sign down here almost opposite our commentary position. And I don't know if the crew are quite ready for this yet as the car comes down. About to pull off. You got one of the guys trying to just make sure that nothing explodes there, and they've got one of their other team cars sitting in their number 55 as well.
Well, that's a tough job to fix.
We'll pick up on Evan Green in the pits.
As they came into the pits, Mike, they were showering not just sparks but flame from where either Alan Goff or Colin Spencer, I suspect Colin Spencer was probably at the wheel, was driving in, trailing a great sheet of flame from the drum brake, and they may even have worn away the bottom mounting point on the telescopic shock absorber. It looked a pretty bad sort of scene, but they brought the car in. As you were saying, they had an all-nighter rebuilding the car. You wouldn't have given them $10 for it the way it was yesterday. Almost every panel was bent after Alan Goff lost it at the top of the mountain and then hit everything within sight. But the team of students at the technical colleges in Wagga and Wollongong, the students in panel beating, went to it with gusto, straightened it out, and now I think, as you've correctly speculated, Chris Economaki, something was probably damaged in that earlier incident, which has let go, the reason he's lost his wheel and axle. But as long as there's been no fundamental damage, they'll probably be back in action again. But it was a fairly dicey scene, and for a while I thought we were going to have another fire, because he truly was trailing a sheet of flame that was almost a foot long behind the car as he drove in the pits. Well, they've got it up.
That's the left rear suspension dragging, but the brake carrier may be damaged because of the ride down the long straightaway, worn it out. That may be the problem in getting that car back on the track, plus the fact that the axle may have broken inside the rear end housing. That will have to be
taken out. It may be a long while there in the pits.
There's Peter Brock standing by for Jim Richards to bring in 05, and Peter will get back in the car, and he's watching, in fact, the sad side of the pickup truck further down the bottom of the straight, bringing back car 25, the other Marlborough Holden Dealer Team car that went off up the top with mechanical trouble when John Harvey had only just resumed the wheel. Car 62, that's the Meadow, that's Alexander Surplus. They started from the rear of the grid, but they're still in the race.
It's been a race that has attracted some good women drivers over a period of time. Sue Ransom today, Alexandra Surplus, who has been campaigning at some of the smaller tracks. We have a driver change about to be effected. Jim Richards is hooked up with his communication, got out of the way, has put Peter Brock into the driver's seat, and the crew doing a great job, as you can see, changing the rear tyres.
You know, Mike, it's interesting to watch the teamwork with these races with more than one driver. The exiting driver tends to play valet to the man taking over for him, adjusting the seatbelt just as Jim Richards is tightening up Peter Brock on the seat of the car here. They really look after one another in that sense. It's interesting to watch that kind of cooperation. We don't see that much in the States.
We've got the clock on the pit stop. There they go at 45 seconds.
That's a good pit stop. And Peter Brock is now back in 05, relieving Jim Richards, who has done a great job out there playing the role of co-driver, co-winner. Alexander Surplus heads up through the cutting. As Gary pointed out, they started well back, sponsored by Meadow Lee. Still doing a good job. They're circulating around quite solidly and have been since the race started. We'll take a break and then return live with all the action of the Hardie-Ferodo 1000. Allan Moffat is back in the pits, has turned the car over to Bill O'Brien, co-driver with Bobby Morris for this race, and talking with Allan Moffat is Peter Malloy, the team manager for the Breville 7 team. Moffat was called in, we believe, 1 or 2 laps earlier, stayed out in the track another lap. He's having discussions and telling Peter Malloy exactly how he found the car and any problems that he may have detected while driving it. Bill O'Brien, who was to do the stint with Bob Morris, has now taken over, so we have at least 3 drivers have had a run in the 7 Breville car today. The race continues out there on the racetrack. There's number 7, Bill O'Brien, and the Breville Everlast car coming down in between a couple of these slower cars through the S's. Dips down now. Our static camera position where you can see the cars really working, bottoming on the pavement through that section of the track.
Well past the halfway point in the race now. We've got about 88 laps up, which leaves us with 73, 74, about 75 laps to go.
You know, having been here last year and watched the full race, I would say that there's been more action on the track and the pits and from every standpoint in the first half of this race than there was in the whole affair last year.
Exactly.
And we've got no idea of what's to come.
That's the strange thing, because these little things that do go wrong, the dealer team running 1-2 very, very strongly, then all of a sudden, for some strange reason, one of the cars goes out.
One car that's been running remarkably well is this one, the Channel 7 Breville entry, and it's right in the thick of things at the moment. Bill O'Brien is at the wheel. Allan Moffat has driven it. Bobby Morris has and will again drive it, we naturally expect.
We might take a look at the top 10 readout from our IBM computer very shortly to keep you up to date with what has been happening on the track during the past commercial break. As Bill O'Brien disappears over the top. Okay, 85 laps completed. Saw the Commodore of Peter Brock and Jim Richards, race leaders. In second place, the Peter Janson, Larry Perkins and the Cadbury Schweppes Commodore. In third place, the Alan Grice, John Smith, Craven Mile Commodore. In fourth place, the Channel 7 Breville Falcon with Bob Morris, Charlie O'Brien, Bill O'Brien and Allan Moffat. And then back in sixth place, the Geoghegan Gulson Commodore. In seventh place, the Cook Brown Citizen Watches entry. In eighth place is the Alan Brown, Brian Sampson Recar entry. In ninth, the Commodore of Big Charlie O'Brien and Garth Wigston from Tasmania. And in 10th place, that Ford Capri of Barry Seaton and Don Smith for Alpha Couriers. See the positions we're still putting through for you so you can keep an update on the races. Number 32, the Masterton Holmes Capri comes up the top part of the mountain. Let's follow through. In 18th place there, the Barber Posey Avco Pepsi Camaro. In 19th, the Bailey Clark Celica. And in 20th place, the Escort of Cartwright and Stevens. Retired as the 21st place of the Commodore, the Marlborough Holden Dealer Team, Commodore of Harvey and Harrop. 23rd place is the Camaro of Dixon and Stevens. So IBM computer service will give you the readout of the field.
Whilst we're watching car 32, the Masterton Holmes Capri entry circulating at the moment with Colin Bond back at the wheel. I suspect that Evan Green has Steve Masterton standing by over in the pits.
You're dead right, Gary. Sitting with me is Steve Marston. Your car, Steve, is running 11th outright and second in the class.
That's right, Evan. Yes, we were leading the class for right from the start until about an hour ago. And when I took over, I was a little bit slower than Colin, of course, being a little less experienced. And one of the Holden Dealer Team cars dropped some oil down through the dipper, and being probably a little bit too cautious, I dropped my lap times down a couple of seconds, and of course we slipped back into second place. But anyway, Colin's back out in the car now, and I hope he can pull something out of the hat and get us back into number one.
What sort of a lead does he have to make up on Barry Seaton?
I'm not sure, Evan. I think it's about half a lap, about 50-something seconds.
Did you give Colin any particular information when you got in the car, when he got in there? Is the car okay?
The car's perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I'm very happy with the way Reg Varley, my lead mechanic, has prepared the car. Nick Perozzi and John Davis. The car is absolutely running beautifully.
It looks very hot work out there.
Yeah, it is hot. It is hot. The engine's running probably 10 degrees Celsius hotter than we'd like it to, and we're just treating it as gentle as we can and going as quick as we can to try and keep the water in the engine.
The cars, particularly the Capris, seem to be going faster this year than last year. What's the reason?
Well, we've had a lot of development take place since February when Reg first started with me, and we've had some new rules given to us, such as wider wheels on the front. We're allowed to use 10-inch rims on the front now with wider flares, which does improve handling and braking. We've gone...
Oh, we've got, just a minute, we've got Bobby Morris's car there with Bill O'Brien in it, stopped on the track. Now, that's the car that was running fourth, the Channel 7 car. He has stopped on the track. I might throw back to you, Mike Raymond.
Yes, noticing the steam coming out of the bonnet area. That's not a good sight. I say the car that has seen 3 drivers going through the, putting it through its paces today.
There's Bob Morris and Allan Moffat down in the pit. They're watching the screen. They can see what's happened at the top of the circuit. They probably don't know precisely what has happened.
That's a very dejected Bobby Morris. Stands there, arm around the shoulder from Allan Moffat, saying, "It always feels terrible, but I felt that way myself once or twice."
That's the view from inside the car, parked on the side of the road. Bill O'Brien's helmet, you can see left of screen there. And what a lonely sight. The car parked off the circuit and the helmet sitting on the bonnet. And Bob, yep, that's says it all, I think.
You know, not too many Falcons left,
Not too many at all at this stage, Chris O'Connor-Mackie. We might check. I've seen Murray Carter's still circulating, but he's many, many laps down. We'll check that very shortly. We'll be back for more live action from the Hardie-Ferodo at Mount Panorama.
In the pits at Mount Panorama, I'm talking with Allan Moffat, and I don't think in all the years I've been coming to Bathurst, Alan, I have ever spoken to a driver who's retired twice in the one race. What?
I'm sorry I didn't hear you then, Evan.
I was saying I've never spoken to a driver, oh, I'm losing my voice like you're losing cars. I've never spoken to a driver who's retired twice in the same race.
Yes, that is a bit of a unique novelty, isn't it?
Do you think you might know what the trouble is to stop Bill O'Brien out on the track in the Channel 7 car?
If it had been anybody else but Peter Malloy, I wouldn't have come in. I have a high regard for Peter, and it was his car and his team. He gave me the hurry-up sign, and I thought, well, okay, I'll go a little bit harder. But I was driving it like I would drive my own with a view to the afternoon time, and we had a long way to go. They were a little nervous about their brake wear pad rate, and I thought, well, I'm just going to drive it exactly the way I would my own. And I was aware of the fact when the Holden went by, okay, times were slipping away, but we had a long way to go. When Peter gave it to me the second time, I knew there was no alternative. I came in.
There's a very disappointed man there, Bobby Morris. How's he taking it?
Well, he is disappointed because I did have a professional words to him, and I said, no, I thought it was a mistake to come in. I was driving it the way I thought we could finish the race. And he said, no, it was go or blow. So obviously, Bill O'Brien just put it in a little harder than he would have liked to. I thought... I never like thrashing a car. I never do. I think, and when you do, you have to know it yourself. And you can't get into a car, have people telling you to take it easy on the brakes, hold the revs down to 6.5, and break the damn lap record. So I can appreciate they were disappointed. Maybe I wasn't going as fast as they would like me to be going. There was a dump truck in the middle of the S's down in the dip. There was oil in the S's. The other Marlboro car crashed in the S's. Naturally, I wasn't going the speeds that Bobby Morris was going. But I thought the plan would be to hand it back to him a car that he could take to the finish line. That's how we've won here in the past, so I did nothing I would normally not do.
You felt you were still in a winning position?
Well, at this time of the day, Evan, anybody's in a winning position. And certainly, we're not in a winning position now because we're not circulating.
It's been an extraordinary race, Allan Moffat. What's the reason that so many cars have had trouble?
I really don't think I can put that down to anything, Evan, other than that we're still going through the new phase of regulations. The 1980 decade start when we've got new regulations, and it does take a long time to get to grips with a particular... There's so many parameters, so many facets, so many angles go into preparing a good race car, and I don't think all the teams are really 100% to grips with them yet.
And so Bobby Morris on camera now, Allan Moffat and Bill O'Brien. 3 drivers out of this year's Hardie-Ferodo 1000, and the men leading are in the order in which they came last year. Number 1, Peter Brock. Number 2, Peter Janson. And number 3, Alan Grice. That really is extraordinary.
Makes you almost start believing in a Commodore, doesn't it?
Back to you, Gary Wilkinson.
Oh, I don't think I could top that line. I think Alan's defected.
That's the man that's running in second place on screen at the moment in car 4, the Cadbury Schweppes Commodore. The captain, Peter Janson, co-driving with Larry Perkins. The man they've got to catch now is Peter Brock in 05, and the man that's hot on both their heels is car 6, the Craven Mile Commodore, Alan Grice. We were checking through the list to see if there was a Falcon still on the track. Murray Carter's still circulating, but of course he had troubles, had a broken axle, and is well down the list. But
there's the Cadbury Schweppes car, of course, always a good finishing car. Peter Janson and Larry Perkins. But there's still quite a few questions to be answered. We hope we'll have the answers for you when we return to Mount Panorama at Bathurst. The Peter Williamson Toyota with Mike Quinn at the wheel continues along, still leading class, doing very, very strongly as the car always does at most race meetings. Bobby Morris, rather dejected person, as one would expect him to be, because they've put together a race car in a very, very short time. And he's joined Evan Green in the pits. So some comments from you, Bob, as we follow Peter Williamson's car around.
It's going up Mountain Straight now. Peter's car would be doing about 115, 120 miles an hour at this point. Accelerating down to Castrol Corner. Back a couple of gears, and it'd be hard into it now. Really accelerating hard to get up that very steep hill.
If I could ask you, Bob Morris, did you find the presence of the camera alongside you an inhibiting factor? Did it worry you?
I wouldn't say it was an inhibiting factor, Evan, but it was something that I was aware of. And, you know, quite often I looked around because it was at a different angle to when I last looked. But I think it's a lot of fun having the camera there, and I hope a lot of people got a lot of enjoyment from it, because it's really something sensational.
I'm sure they did, but you must be a very disappointed man.
Well, I am disappointed because we prepared this car. Peter Malloy and his boys did a fantastic job building this Falcon in just 6 weeks. The car was running so well. It was just like brand new when I stepped out of it. And I thought Bill O'Brien was quite a man to step aside and give his drive to Allan Moffat. We were disappointed that Allan was some 6 and 7 seconds slower than I was in the car. And we only had a short section to do, so it was decided to put Bill in the car for this next lot, and then I'd go in at the finish.
Do you know what the trouble is with the car?
No, I've got no idea, but if we can possibly get it going again, we won't be a contender in the race, but we'd like to get it going again so that we can use the camera for the remainder of the afternoon.
Well, despite the disappointment with the result, you must be still fairly pleased with the way the car went, because it was a good run up to that point.
The car was just fantastic. The Falcon made such a good race car in just 6 weeks that we just can't believe it. If we'd had 12 months development, perhaps things might have been different. But the car is just sensational.
Well, there's no doubt the race is much more competitive in terms of the variety of makes, and people were saying some months ago, you know, was a much more open race when the event started, wasn't it?
Yes, it definitely was. It's probably the best Hardie-Ferodo we've had here for 3, 4, 5 years, perhaps.
And why are things so tough around the track?
Well, there seem to be a lot of cars crashing, sliding off, having flat tyres. There are quite a few stones on the edges of the circuit.
That's Sue Ransom we're watching now, by the way. We were speaking to earlier, one of only 2 women in the race. She's driving the Commodore, going very, very slowly there. Obviously, they've got some sort of trouble.
Bobby Morris, if you can hear me, Bob, while you're down there.
Yeah.
Evan was just speaking to Allan Moffat a while ago, and there seems to be some conjecture we'd just like to straighten up if we could.
Yeah.
While we're looking at this car with the flat tyre.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, Bob. Evan had an interview with Allan Moffat a while ago.
Yes.
He seemed to believe that he was driving the car as he would his own, and that was conserving it to finish. Well, is there some conjecture that Moffat was too hard on the car or wasn't going fast enough for the team's liking?
Well, he definitely wasn't going fast enough for the team's liking, because I was using the rev limit that we'd set at 6,500, and I generally looking after the car, and we were averaging 26s with a few 25s thrown in, and Moffat was 32s and 33s, so it was disappointing to see him going so slowly. Yes. We did wave him on.
Alan Grice.
Oh, there's a bit of drama there.
He's off at the bottom of Breville Conrod Straight into the sand.
Commodores do have troubles. Even if it's bogged in the sand here at the moment. Stay by, Bob. I'm going to go back to you in a second. And,
well, we might even ask Bob, Mike, whether he thinks the sand is a good idea. There's no doubt it's good from the safety point of view, but if you run off, you can get hopelessly bogged.
Well, we didn't get issued with shovels to dig the cars out, so he could be there for quite some time getting that car out.
So you could have a perfectly sound motor car, but just not able to get going again in the race.
That's right. It's only 20 foot from the circuit, but he can't get there. If he has outside assistance, I believe he'll be disqualified under the rules.
This is the man running third in the race.
Bob, could I put it to you, would the sand traps be better than some of the tender vehicles running around the track?
I think the trucks running around the track are very dangerous. In past years, I believe they've been very dangerous. I think that it may take a major accident to stop these trucks driving around, because they are very, very dangerous.
Okay, just back to the Allan Moffat piece again. Putting it quite bluntly, Moffat gave me the impression that if he had stepped up the pace, the car wouldn't have lasted. And in fact, that Bill O'Brien stepped up the pace and the car didn't last.
Well, we don't know why the car stopped. It could be something very minor. The car was in absolutely perfect condition. And, you know, I was driving the car at what I thought to be a reasonable pace and keeping the revs down and looking after it. And all the gauges were in the right places. We really don't know what's happened to it, so it's only conjecture to say that he's broken it. I don't believe Bill would, because he looks after the car.
Okay, in the short period of time that you've had to put the car together, virtually only you were able to run it at Sandown, and you had some problems there, teething troubles, and you've come here. In 6 weeks, and Dick Johnson has done the same, they've made the current model XD Falcon look like a race winner. In 12 months, can they hope to enjoy the success rate that the Commodores seem to be enjoying now after 12 months of development?
Well, we'd like to think so. I think there's a little bit more development to go with the Falcon, although it came together so well, it handles so nicely, and we got adequate power straight off. Peter Malloy has been developing the engines throughout the year for Bill O'Brien's XC, so we did have some development to step from an XC to an XD.
Bobby Morris, I thank you for those comments as we look at Alan Grice's car, a driver who's just been running right on the right pace all day long. And there you can see he's had some sort of a problem. He's looped it, gone backwards into the sand trap at the end of Breville Conrod Straight. And I think it's, in fact, it's John Smith in the car.
It's the sort of trouble, Mike, that they had last year. Remember how Alan Grice had a spin down the road, but last year there wasn't that sand trap to snag him, and this time they've really put the car in. If I could come back with just 1 point additional to the story of Dick Johnson, which really has obviously tugged at the heartstrings of so many people around Australia. The word from the pits is that quite a lot of the racing fraternity are all adding their $100 and so on towards the fund. But even more remarkable, because one would expect support from racing people who are a fairly close-knit fraternity, is what the people of Mareeba in Queensland have done. Now, that's a pretty small town up in the Atherton Tablelands, not a big population, but they have contributed as a township $1,000 to Dick Johnson, and that, I think, Mike Raymond, is a remarkable gesture.
I think that is absolutely marvellous. It might be just timely again to recall the message that we had. It was absolutely confirmed by our executive producer Jeff Healy, who spoke to Edsel Ford earlier on the telephone today. He agreed to match on behalf of the Ford Motor Company, $1 for $1, on any funds donated today by viewers of Channel 7 to the Dick Johnson Racing Team, to keep that team as a private team mobile for 1980-81. And the address, of course, for those people around Australia, again, to send something in to assist, particularly those people associated close to motorsport, is to ATN Channel 7, New South Wales 2121, Epping. Okay, let's have a look at the pit area activity as we have one of the Masterton Homes Capris in for a pit stop at the moment. Things looking a bit warm there too.
Yes, it's an extremely hot situation here. The car's got quite a ding on the inside door. Colin Bond has come in. This is not a scheduled stop. The door on the other side, you can't see it beyond Colin, has a large ding. It was there before. So the car has suffered in a brush with a few vehicles, but they're adding water, it's overheating, and they're giving it the works under the bonnet. He's got a heating problem, has Colin. We can't get out in the way we could before because, as I mentioned earlier, some of our gear has been run over by the car. So not only the drivers are the ones who are suffering, but you can see there just how hot that V6 Capri is. Colin Bond staying in the car, keeping the engine running. But this looks fairly worrying for the car that was running second in this class and 11th outright.
Well, while that Capri's getting hot under the bonnet, Alan Grice is hot under the collar, and I see that he's jumped the pit wall and sprinted across the track, and he's gone down to the sand pit where the Craven Mild Commodore is still stuck. I think he's probably going to try and heave it. He's going to dig it out by hand if necessary.
Well, there you can see the Craven Mild Commodore still down there. Meanwhile, back in the pits, Colin Bond just sits waiting. That is valuable time, and they have a problem. They're presently positioned second in class behind Barry Seaton and Don Smith and the Alpha Couriers Capri. They were fastest in practice yesterday for their class and expected to take the battle right up to Barry Seaton today. But there you can see they're trying to pour water in, try and cool the top catch tank down. Meanwhile, back in the Peter Williamson Toyota Celica with Mike Quinn at the wheel, which will be coming in for a pit stop a little later, and hopefully at that stage they might even clean the windscreen for all you viewers across Australia. But the car has been running beautifully. Another of the cars that really has run trouble-free today.
Car 6 is out of the sand trap and into the pits.
He's onto the fairway. Colin Bond, head down and ready to go. And meanwhile, our backpack crew, fittest Australian television network, run down the pit area.
John Smith out of the car, Alan Grice in.
Gricey, at this stage, wouldn't be planning on any return visits to the bunker.
Well, he's lost a couple of laps sitting down there, 3 or 4 laps, I would expect. He was right up with the leaders, in 3rd place, in fact, behind Peter Brock in 05 and Peter Janson in car 4. He spun out. That's left Gary Rogers now in 3rd place in the Greater Pacific Finance Commodore, followed in 4th spot by car 21. That's the Ian Geoghegan and Paul Gulson Commodore, sponsored by Stockton Coin and Bullion. So it's 05, the Marlborough Holden Dealer Team in front. Cadbury Schweppes Commodore running 2nd. Gary Rogers Commodore in 3rd place. Then the Bullion Company car, Ian Geoghegan and Paul Gulson, 4th, followed by car 15. That's the three-car vehicle. Alan Brown and Brian Sampson, they're going extremely well.
Okay, we return to the top part of the mountain. Coming up, see a brewery, sunny day here, weather conditions. One of the warmest Hardie-Ferodos on record, I would think, in consideration of 2 years ago. We're almost fogged out for the start of the race. And the temperature here at Mount Panorama over the past 4 days has ranged somewhere between 28 to 34 degrees. Meanwhile, Murray Carter in car number 18 continues along the top of the mountain, not far astern of Mike Quinn and the Peter Williamson Toyota. Here's Murray Carter just going beneath us at the moment. We'll pick him up shortly for you. One of the real lone privateers. They came to Bathurst this time without a sponsor. Brian Wood has always been one of their top sponsors. And Brian came in and they've got problems already. Brian came along and has offered assistance to them to get them through the weekend. But it's a good team. Veteran Murray Carter and New Zealander Graham Lawrence. Pit area seems to be fairly busy. If you can hear us, Evan Green, would you like to comment?
Running 3rd until a few minutes ago was the Craven Mile car, number 6, with John Smith at the wheel, and he got stuck in the sand. John, what happened?
Basically, Evan, I braked too late. The car was going quite well. The brakes were getting down a bit, but I was just trying a little bit extra hard down there, and once you get it sideways on the brakes, there's not much you can do about it. The car itself, the Craven Mile car, is going very well, and I just let the team down, I think. I'm not too sure, but pretty disappointed about it anyway.
So it was just purely and simply bogged in sand?
Yeah, bogged in the sand. Didn't hit anything.
How much time did you lose?
About 7 minutes, I think, which is 7 minutes too many, isn't it?
Where does that place you in the field? Do you know yet? I know you haven't had much time to recover your thoughts.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know. But I still think we're second. I'm not too sure. I might be wrong, but I don't know.
And Alan's going out there to drive normally, or is he trying to go a little quicker this now? What do you think?
Well, I think he'll go out there and go as fast as the car can possibly go.
Grice, he's alive. Get up fire.
Alan Grice on fire, according to the message we've just got. The message from Frank Gardner is that there's a fire within the Alan Grice car. Frank, right behind me, just thumped me on the shoulder and shouted, Grice is alive.
The car's alive.
We have a problem by the sound of it.
The car is burning. You got it.
We're trying to track it around the circuit at the moment.
It's a light underneath. I would say he's on the top of the mountain somewhere. He's got his radio on and I can still hear it.
Okay. You can hear the fire.
I can still hear the blokes.
We're following the Peter Janson Cadbury Swift's car up to the top of the mountain. We'll keep a lookout for you, Frank. Let's go back to the action.
They've put the fire out and he's trying to get home.
Okay, Frank, thank you very much. Some sort of flash fire, and there it is there. The Craven Mile number 6 car bombed in the bunker about 7 minutes ago. Flash fire at the moment, returning to the pits, and my goodness me, the attrition rate is getting really high in the closing stages, with about 2 hours to go in the Hardie-Ferodo Classic for 1980.
If there's anybody left at the finish. Oh, goodness me. Alan Grice nursing the car back towards the pit area, one presumes.
Yes, he is, as Frank Gardner, who is team manager, one of the most experienced race car drivers, and of course a tremendously competent team manager. Will be able to fill us in with more details as Gricey limps down Breville Conrod Straight, heading to the pits.
Murray Carter now is not the only Falcon on the track. I see car 24 has resumed the battle. That's the Robert Muir Kingsley Hibbard Falcon. They're a long way down the list, I think, but they've re-entered the battle and they're back on the track.
Okay, pit area activity coming up very shortly as Alan Grice heads in the direction of the pits. Is he? No, he's not.
He's not coming in.
He's not coming in. He's probably quite happy that whatever they found that was wrong has been cured, although we'll take you back trackside now to Evan Green, still in the pits as Gricey drops the at upper gear and heads off back up Mountain Straight. Back to you, Evan.
Around the track again, what message did you get on the radio?
The fire marshals have put out the fire, but the whole problem is the fire's out and we don't really know what the problem is, but he might as well stay out there. It's probably stuff that it picked up in the accident and knocks some of the wiring back onto the bulkhead, which is burned through. But it sorted itself out, so we might as well stay there. There's no point in coming in because we wouldn't know what to look for.
So you'll keep it going till there's a problem?
Yeah.
Frank, that must be terribly disappointing because the car was running so strongly.
Cars ran all day. It's run between first and third most of the day. It dropped back to fourth at one stage, but it's been up there. It's been a strong motor car. It's the best one we've ever put together. And both the boys drove. John probably got a bit tired. He hasn't done that many long distance races, just miscued under his braking area. With the result of something's obviously fouled up at quarter light. It could have been on the exhaust pipe or anything, but Gricey had enough sense to drive to a marshal's post. They put the fire out immediately under his direction, which I could hear on the radio, amidst some language which I was pleased wasn't coming over television.
So were we.
And there's no point in coming on because you don't really know what quarter light, but he's got all the systems working.
Is there another scheduled stop?
Well, we are in a bit of problem because it's only picking up an hour's petrol where it should be picking up about an hour and 3/4. So our major problem is we're stopping for petrol every hour, which is why we drop off the pace with Brock. We've been back on the pace with him and off the pace and back on. But it just surges after an hour and we lose petrol pressure, and it is getting worse.
He's just on the air at the moment, getting a message from Alan Grice. You can see Frank Gardner, one of the most experienced people in motor racing, running the pit here in the Craven Mile team area. I think we might leave Frank Gardner too. He's a pretty busy man. Thanks. We'll come back there. one of the teams who've struck really terrible luck this year in a race that has been characterised by ill fortune. Back to you, Gary Wilkinson.
Thank you very much, Evan Green. And as we speak, Alan Grice is coming past the bottom of our Commodore position, so we'll put the stopwatch on him for a lap, and we'll be back shortly to tell you just how he's running.
The Hardie-Ferodo 1000 continues.
I stopped the clock, Mark Raymond, on Alan Grice. There wasn't much point in timing him on that lap because he hasn't completed it yet. The car just died on him halfway up Mountain Straight. He's got it going again and is coming back round. And has he gone into the pits? I can't quite see from here.
We've got a bigger problem here. Here he comes down on the right-hand side of the racetrack. Let's just get Alan Grice coming in, running very slowly. We'll wait and see if he goes back to the pit area. He'll take the left-hander. It'll bring him back onto pit straight. Now, whether he will go in or not, I think he will. Yep. Yes, he does. He's getting ready to go into the pits where they perhaps can trace that electrical problem that seems to have now confronted the Craven Mile team and manager Frank Gardner. Grice was running strongly when you left us. During the last commercial break, he stopped momentarily going up the mountain, has just completed that lap now. Okay, let's have a look at the Philips natural colour television scoreboard that we take down in the bottom part of the pit area. Philips, of course, have played a big role also in the backup of our scoring service, along with IBM.
Car 11, you know, Gary Cook's been running very consistently, and Charlie O'Brien. They're a couple of laps down, naturally, on the outright leaders in the race, but they've been going very, very well and still circulating. Evan Green right now, in fact, we'll sit back to Evan in the pits because he has with him Alan Grice.
Well, Alan's in the pits. The trouble is, I understand he can't turn off the engine, but I'll try and see what caused the fire. Alan, where was the fire?
Under my dash here. I've pulled up and got one of the extinguishers to put it all out. You can see all the powder and stuff. It was somewhere under the dash.
Has it caused any damage?
It has. Well, I've lost a few electrics. I can't turn the engine off either.
And you don't dare turn it off now, I suppose?
No, pretty right. They might have to, though. I think we've got a fuel filter problem, and they're going to have to try and change that. So to do that, they may have to take the battery lead off.
Now, Alan, yeah, you really must have... Yep, let's get out of the way.
Sorry he couldn't stay and talk, Evan.
Yes, well, he's gone with his fuel filler cap open at the back. I think he won't leak any fuel, but it sure might upset the aerodynamics. And talking of things being upset, I'm being hauled off the track. Someone tried to save my life. I want to get back and have a chat in just a moment, Mike, to Sam Posey, because there's quite a drama unfolding with the American Camaro. In the meantime, Kevin Bartlett's car has just come in, Bobby Forbes. There's a lot happening with the big American cars here. We'll be back in just a moment once we get through all the traffic and get set up.
Okay, as we look back to complete our run through the scoreboard, the Philips car stereo and colour television scoreboard down, that backs up our impeccable IBM computer system. For those people following the cars through the newspaper supplements published around Australia today, so you can follow your favourite drivers. Obviously, it takes quite a deal of time for us to list all the cars and how they are running on each lap of the race.
05, the race leader, Peter Brock, and Jim Richards, the Marlborough Holden Dealer Team lead Commodore. They've completed 102 laps, and the only other car on the same lap with them is the Cadbury Schweppes Commodore of Peter Janson and Larry Perkins.
They've done a great job. Tremendous job. Number 55.
Stopped in the middle of the
which is one of the little Geminis. There's the Citizen Watches entry. Two good citizens at the wheel today, too, and Gary Cook and Warwick Brown. Warwick, a top Australian open wheel driver who competed internationally for just on 8 years. We have this car, that number 55, which is one of the Gemini team.
Yep, Ken Price and Steve Jonas in the Cars racing team.
Okay, well, the Cars racing team is parked on the wrong side of the concrete wall. It's out on the racetrack and should be the other side of that wall in the pits, but it's come to a stop. And I don't know whether or not they're going to leave it there. We'll go trackside to Evan Green, who I believe has Sam Posey with him.
Indeed I have, who's another member of the American team with Dick Barber. Dick's sitting in the sun there, and the car's in the pits, and you've got a lot of troubles, apparently, Sam.
Yeah, it was our idea to see if we could run a relatively calm pace and try to finish the race, but the first thing to go away, which is something we had feared all along, were the rear brakes. About halfway through the race, they just went completely away. I had to go very slowly for a few laps until we could set the pits up to change those. At that point, we replaced drivers. Dick Barber got in, he went out, he made just a few laps, and we have a broken hub at the back. We wouldn't be going on at all if it wasn't for Kevin Bartlett and his crew. They lent us the pieces. It's being bolted on, and as we're doing that, we seem to have another drama. We've got some oil leaking out of the front. So we're very busy over there trying to keep it running. Our other car, the other AFCO Pepsi Camaro, is running very well with Ron Dixon. He's doing a beautiful job.
You must be disappointed to have come so far and had these sort of troubles.
Well, yes and no. Really, the thrill has been to participate in this one and try to get some experience. We didn't honestly think we could win it, but we've learned an awful lot. And as they say, maybe next time. On the other hand, we're not out of the race.
Your first time to the mountain, how do you find the circuit and the event itself?
Well, the circuit is pretty intimidating, but once the race got going and I got to know it a little bit better, I felt pretty comfortable. And the Camaro has been very steady. It's got the power, passing a lot of guys. I probably held a lot of guys up, down through the twisty bits, but that just can't be helped. It's the nature of the car, and I don't feel too embarrassed about it.
One of the great international stars in this year's race, Sam Posey.
Yes, and a great talker too. Sam is, of course, apart from being race driver, is a commentator with the ABC network in the United States. Calls the action along with Chris Economaki at the Indianapolis 500.
Top three cars at this stage in the 1980 Hardie-Ferodo 1000-05. The Marlborough Holden Dealer Team Commodore, Peter Brock and Jimmy Richards, 103 laps down, and they're in the lead ahead of car 4, the Cadbury Schweppes Commodore, Peter Janson and Larry Perkins. Car 16 holding down third place is the Greater Pacific Finance car of Gary Rogers, going extremely well. Oh, gee, you know, they've done a remarkable job.
Tremendous. Fifth place, or let's catch up on sixth, Charlie O'Brien and Garth Weakston in the Roadways Juice Commodore, position number 8. Number 35, the Alpha Couriers Capri of Barry Seaton and Don Smith, the Liverpool double. In position number 9 is the number 9 Camaro of Kevin Bartlett and Bob Forbes, as we pick up on the Avco Pepsi Camaro coming down the straight. This is Ron Dixon at the wheel. His co-driver is Bob Stevens, and I'm pleased to see them having a much better run than they had in their initial year here, their first year of the Camaros last year. We might go trackside now to Chris Economaki, who I believe has Captain Peter Janson, who is always good for a jovial word or two.
Okay, well, Peter, you seem to be happy. You were second here last year. Your car's lying second now. What is the interval behind the 05 car, and can you close it?
Well, I've been asleep for quite a while. I've just woken up and had a couple of cherry ripes. And
we get the pops in, huh?
And no, we're doing very well. There's no way you can push Brocky. He's a master at his own game, and we're a good privateer, and we're very lucky to be sitting where we are, and we're very happy.
Okay, and what about how much is left in the car, Peter? Can you get some more out of it as the race gets closer to the end?
Yes, we can, but the point is, not enough to catch Brocky. You know, I mean, he can outdo us any day of the week. He's got a brilliant car. He's one of the most brilliant top 5 touring car drivers in the world. And both Larry and I, well, we haven't been in the car before on the Sandown. That was only 15 or 20 laps. So if we go pushing it, we could bugger up our spot. and my bank manager and my sponsors will hang me from the highest gallows. No, we just sit where we are and be very happy with what we've got. And I only hope Brocky stays where he is. I'm very happy. Also, what you've got to realise, the car that is coming third is 2 laps behind. So we're in a good position. Why ruin it? And that's the way I look at it. I don't care what anybody else says. This is the way we play the game. We've always played it this way, and I wanted to stay that way, and I think Larry would too.
Bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, huh?
You can say that again. It's like going out with a beautiful bird and seeing 3 over there, and you go over and introduce yourself. When you come back, the girl you're with, she